Welcome aboard the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon podcast, where we're dedicated to helping first-time and experienced boat buyers find the right boat at the best price so they have years and years of boating fun, because life truly is better on a boat. Today's podcast is sponsored by the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Toolkit, packed with inspection checklists, questions to ask private sellers and dealers, ownership calculators, how to sea trial a boat the right way, and much more. And it's all yours free at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/toolkit. And the magic money saving method, the insider's way to getting the best deal on your new or used boat. Check out the video at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/save. Now, let's hop aboard and have some fun.
So let's start our episode today. Insider secrets to trading your boat. So this is specifically for people that currently have a boat and they're looking to move into a different style of boat, and they're not sure how to handle their current boat. So I want to start with, there's three things that you can do if you currently have a boat and you know you need to get rid of that to move into your next one, or you'll want to. There's three options that you have. The first thing you can do is you can sell your boat on your own. You can put your boat in Boat Trader, list it on Craigslist, park it on the side of the road with a sign on it, leave it in the marina with a for sale sign, and sell it on your own. This option is going to give you the most money. It's going to put the most money in your pocket most of the time. I'll give you a caveat. But it's also the most work. You have to worry about dealing with the potential buyers. You have to worry about doing the sea trial. You have to worry about potential fraud, scamsters, especially on Craigslist and Boat Trader. You have to take that additional risk, and you have to do everything yourself. But it will give you, in most cases, the most money in your pocket. Okay, so that's option number one. On the other side is to trade with the dealer. If you're buying your next boat from a dealer, you can sometimes trade with that dealer. Now, that's going to give you the least amount of money of all of these options for your boat. It's going to be the least amount, but it's also going to be the least work. It's going to be very simple. You take your boat in, they do the inspection. You obviously inspect your boat based on everything else that you've discovered in this podcast series. And you come together on the numbers. They take your boat, you leave with the new boat, and you're off and running. Financing, if you've got a loan on your boat, they take care of that. It's very easy. It's very simple. It's the least painful way, but you're going to pay for the convenience. That's a fact of life that you do have to pay for that convenience, but it's very easy. There's a middle option that some people may want to consider. You may even be able to do this with the dealer that you're buying your new boat from, or from somebody else. But the middle option is to sell via brokerage or consignment. There are yacht brokers, boat brokers throughout the country. Some dealers will sign on consignment where they say, you give us the boat, you tell us the amount that you want for it, and we will try to get what we can, and that will be our profit. The brokerage is you come up with a price and you just pay a percentage or a flat fee for their services of selling the boat for you. Now, that's an option that works great because they typically have a database of prospects that could potentially buy your boat. They already have the marketing. They already have the infrastructure. They already have the relationships to list it online. They have all of that set up, and they just add your boat into the mix of the other dozen, 50, 100, 200, 300 boats that they have for sale, and they sell it for you. Sometimes being able to get a higher price for the boat, and then you will obviously pay a fee. So you may get similar amount of money as you would selling it on your own, or maybe a little bit less. But it's very easy. Now, the one downfall with this method is if you have to sell your boat and pay off that loan before you can qualify for your new loan on your new boat, there may be a window of time that you're not able to get your new boat until your current one sells. So that's one of the things to consider. But it can be a great option for a lot of folks to get the most out of it, but they just frankly don't have the time or the desire to sell it on their own. and yet they want to get a little bit more out of it than what the dealer says they can. Now, everything that we're going to focus on today can be used for any three of these options. Okay, there's the details we're going to go through is going to help you with any three of these options, but we're really going to focus on trading and how that works with the dealer, so you have some inside information. Okay, so when you first make the decision that you're going to sell your boat, I'm going to recommend you do some research and you get an idea of, okay, how much is my current boat worth? Okay, so there's three ways that you can get values on your current boat. The first one is called Sold Boats. It's a service that's offered by Boat Wizard, which is a company that's owned by the company that owns Boat Trader and Yacht World and Boats.com. That service is a subscription service, and you have to be in the industry. You have to have a relationship with Yacht World to get that access to that. But what it is, it's similar to like the MLS in the real estate world, where what happens is the boat dealers brokers list their boats for sale on this particular site, and then when they sell it, they report back how much they sold it for. So it's a very good indication of what your boat could potentially sell for. Now, we'll go into some more detail on these as well, but that is one option. It's something that you would typically have to get from a dealer or a broker, and most of them will have access to it. Not all, but most of them. The next is NADA Guides and Price Digest. So NADA, you may have heard of that in the car industry. They do guides that tell you how much cars are worth. They typically, a hard copy comes out quarterly, and they update their numbers on a quarterly basis in the marine world. Price Digest is a similar service that's offered. That is more of an industry service, but you can actually get consumer reports. That's going to tell you what, based on all of the information that they've gathered, what kind of the overall value of a particular boat is. And then a third way is you can go to Boat Trader, Boats.com, Yacht World, Craigslist, and you can look for similar boats to yours, and you can say, okay, this is what people are listing the boats for. So let's first start with Sold Boats and Boat Wizard. As we said, you have to ask your broker or your dealer if they can pull the sales history on your particular boat. Now, not all dealers have access to it. Not all brokers have access to it, but in most areas of the country where boating is a bigger part of the economy, you'll be able to find this, and you can get a dealer to pull it up and share it with you. Now, here's an interesting thing that you may not realize, but not all boats will have a sales history because there's just not as many boats sold as there are cars. If you think about the size of the auto industry, how many millions of cars are sold a year, compare that to the number of new boats sold in 2018. The number of boats sold in 2018, the powerboat segment, so this includes pontoons, aluminum fishing boats, center consoles, bow riders, deck boats, cruisers, yachts, from 16 feet up to 66 plus feet. There were 178,861 total power boats sold in 2018. In 2017, 172,411. If you throw in electric boats, houseboats, jet boats, personal watercraft, and sailboats, that number goes up to, in aluminum boats under 16 feet, so small John boats, that number goes up to 272,824 in 2018, 263,524 in 2017. So the size of the industry is minuscule compared to the auto industry. So understand that some boats won't have sales history. You know, if you have a boat that maybe they only built a couple hundred of them in a year, and that's going to be very common, you may have to extend the search by years. You may have to extend the search in size range to get a ballpark range for your particular type of boat. I think it's very interesting that most people that are into boating, and I myself, before I got into the industry, assume that the number of boats sold every year was just huge and very similar to the car industry. Obviously, that's just not the case. It's a fraction of the amount of the auto industry. But that's a great resource if your boat's listed and you can find somebody, because it tells you what they actually sold for, and you can compare that to your boat and determine, okay, this is about where we should be. The next option to get a value is NADA. NADA, you can go online for free, NADAguides.com, go into the boat section, and I pulled up a 2014 Sea Ray 240 Sun Deck. That little asterisk means that it has a stern drive power, so the power is included in the price of the boat. They will be outboards, so pontoons, center consoles, any outboard power boat. You'll need to add that power in separately. But this just gives you an idea, and I want to tell you what these amounts mean. So, a couple things. You've got suggested list price. So that was MSRP when the boat sold new. So this boat the MSRP was $70,508 new. That's for the base price for the boat. So all the standard options that they have, that's what the price is on the retail side. Now today, the average retail, so average retail this is about how much, if it's in average condition, average hours, that's how much the boat would sell for on average. The low retail is, if it's maybe a saltwater boat, but this is also closer to the number that a dealer would say, yeah, I can give you about that much. It's actually going to be lower than that, but that will give you a ballpark idea of what assuming it's in excellent condition, that's about the ballpark realm that a dealer would give to you. So they may give you $35,000 on a boat like that right now. Now, that's the low and average. There's a high retail number that will come up in the actual book. If you subscribe to NAD, they give you a high retail number, and that's about the most that you can expect to get if you were to sell your boat on the retail market and sell it yourself or sell it through a dealer. That's a number that if you work with the dealer, they will likely show that to you in their subscription service if they have that. Now, I wanted to point out another thing is as you go through NADA, you have the ability to select options. Now, some options I'm going to recommend you put in, like the wakeboard tower. The wakeboard tower is an option that wasn't on most Sea Ray Sun Decks in 2014. It's an add-on, and it's a significant one. The stereo with 4 speakers, well, every Sea Ray 240 Sun Deck comes standard with a stereo, so it's actually included in the base price. It's not something that you're kind of double counting if you put it in as an option. So when you go through and choose the options, only think of those major options that not every boat has or that most boats don't have, because you're really getting an inflated number, and you're gonna be disappointed when you do talk to the dealer or you do go to sell it and nobody's willing to pay the price you think you should get because you've overinflated it with things like stereo and snap-in carpet and bimini top and canvas, which most boats today have those included. Not all, but most of them. The trailer, you will get credit for the trailer if you have a trailer. And so you want to put that in. Again, the same thing though. You don't want to put in things like fender wells or steps, because frankly, a trailer is not going to add those options. You're not going to be given credit for them when you go to resell it. So in this example, $48,300 is average. Low retail is $42,265. So that gives you a range of kind of where to expect. On the trade, it's going to be on the low side. If you're selling it for yourself, maybe I would list this particular boat at $52,000. And if it's in perfect condition, maybe expect to get around $49,000 or $50,000 when it's all said and done. So that's the NADA guide, and you can go in there and you can play around with it, and you can do that online. It's very simple and it's free. Another option is Price Digest. It's pricedigest.com. $29.95. You can actually buy a custom report for the type of boat you have, And this is what's used by finance companies and insurance companies. Again, they subscribe to this. If you have a catastrophic event with your boat and they need to replace it, they'll go to a guide like this or the NADA subscription guide, and they'll pull up, this is the replacement value, this is the high retail value, and you, for $30, you can buy it on your boat. If you're looking to sell your boat, what I would do is I would pull up the NADA guide and print that out, and I would go ahead and invest $30 on the price guide and put that together. And when I talk to my dealer, I would use that as, hey, I know what I'm talking about. These are values. I know what they mean, and this is where I expect to be. Okay? So just wanted to give you those as tools that you can use in your research process to, use as negotiating leverage that you've got them. Okay? The third place that you can look is online. You can go and you can take a look at, okay, here are some boats that are listed for sale. And if you look, 2014 240 Sun Deck, this one's listed at $72,900, $55,900, $43,900, $46,900, $49,995, $52,000, and $45,900. So you'll see that there's a huge range of values starting at $72,000. Well, that one I'm going to throw out. Just it's so far out of line compared to everything else that it seems like there's something weird going on, or somebody that hasn't done any research and is just trying to sell their boat for an ungodly amount. That's never going to sell. On the flip side, if you see anything that's too low, like this $43,900, well, is there something about that boat that maybe there's some issues? You might want to click into the listing and check it out. Maybe it has, 1,200 hours on it, and it's only a 2014, and it's got some issues. So you want to throw out anything that's too high or too low. But in that middle ground, it gives you a pretty good idea of where people are listing. And you have to understand that just because they list it there doesn't mean that that's what they're going to sell it, but it does give you a good idea. It gives you a general idea of what they're listing for, and understand that they're going to likely sell it for something a little bit less. But between those three, the sold boats listing of what things have actually sold for, NADA and Price Digest, what the industry is saying, what the finance companies and insurance companies are saying, you've got that, and then you've got, okay, what's on the market in my market area? So that gives you a pretty good idea of kind of the range of dollar amounts that you can expect to sell your boat for, and a pretty good idea of what the value the dealer is going to put on it. Now, a couple things to consider: the deduction in values. So, saltwater boats. If you read the NADA guides, in the very front of it, it'll say 10 to 15% discount for saltwater boats that have been operated mainly in saltwater because of the corrosion, because of the harsh environment. That depreciates the value of the boat, and you have to take that into consideration and understand that that's gonna happen. Exterior and interior conditions. So if you've got scratches, if you've got dings, if you've got issues on the exterior, if you've got rips in the upholstery, if you've got tears in your carpet, if the stereo is not working, if there's other interior and exterior issues, you're going to have to take that into account. Now, maybe they're minor, but you do have to take them into account. Mechanical condition, missing non-working options, all of those things, that you've got a stereo, but the stereo is not working. The fish finder was there and that got stolen out of your boat. You've got to take those things into account, because the next buyer will, whether that's the dealer or whether that's a private individual buying it from you, those things are going to come into play. And just be honest with yourself. Do an honest evaluation of your boat, and that's going to help you get the most out of it. Maybe you make the decision that you get those things fixed, or you address them in some way or another. But be honest with yourself when you're looking at it. And then trailer condition. Do your tires need to be replaced? Is the axle going to break any time now? Is the winch stand have tons of rust on it? Are the lights busted out? All of those things will come into play when you're looking at values. And yes, I know it's your boat, but you have to take that emotion out of it a little bit and determine what the true value of your boat is. Okay, so let's get into some real insider information here. Okay, now, as you know, Captain Matt is my moniker for this because I don't want to share who I am in the industry, because this is the type of information that's going to be helpful that a lot of dealers wouldn't be very excited if you were aware of them. So there's two terms that you need to know and understand the difference. And then we're going to talk through some examples. The first is ACV, or actual cash value. There's two numbers that will be dealt with when you're trading: the ACV and the trade allowance. The ACV is a number that you may never know. It's the actual amount the boat is worth to your dealer, so they can recondition it and sell it for a reasonable profit. Now, this is the amount they would buy the boat for, even if you weren't buying their boat. Now, they may not do that, but it's the amount that they would say, hey, yeah, that's a good investment. We can turn around and we can make a reasonable profit. If we buy the boat for $40,000, we can sell the boat for $50,000, and that's a reasonable profit for us, because we got the risk that maybe we can't sell the boat for a full year, and we have depreciation, we have storage costs, and then we can only sell the boat for $42,000. They want to make sure that they have room in there for some bad stuff to happen. They don't expect that they're going to take a trade in and they're going to sell it the next day. They have to account for the seasonality of the business, the length it takes to turn a new boat. So they're going to have that ACV value. That's how they do all their internal calculations of how much they're going to offer for the next term. Trade allowance. Trade amount allowance is the amount that they show you on the paperwork. And I kind of add this tongue in cheek, but to make you feel good that you're getting a fair price for your boat. Because what happens with most people is they come in and they look at the boat trader listings, they pick the highest boat, and they say, oh, my 2014 240 Sun Deck is worth $72,900 because I saw one listed on Boat Trader for that. Well, the reality is that's just not true. But they do understand, because they've done this long enough, most dealers have, that they want to make you feel good about your boat, so that you move up to the next one. But here's what I want you to understand, because they're in business to make money. You're buying a boat. You don't want to overpay. You don't want to get ripped off on your trade. So let's take a look at how the numbers work and how you need to think about it from a consumer perspective. So if you're looking at a $100,000 boat, the MSRP, and this is the same boat we're looking at, just two ways to calculate the numbers. $100,000 boat. In option number one, they don't discount the boat at all, and they give you $50,000 for your trade. So you're like, wow, it was listed on Boat Trader for $50,000. That's great. They're giving me full retail for my boat. Now, the option number two, they're going to discount their boat to $80,000, and they're only going to offer you a trade allowance of $30,000. Now you say, man, that boat was listed for $50,000 online. They're only giving me $30,000. They're ripping me off. But when you actually do the math, the net sale between the two is identical. So as a consumer, regardless of which of these options you're presented, they're equal. Even though you may feel that the trade that they're giving you is, man, there's no way I would trade my boat for $30,000. That thing's easily worth $50,000. Well, if they've already given you the discount, it would be the same as if they gave you $50,000 and only they didn't discount their boat at all. Okay? So that's option one, just to show you that the trade allowance is really only one part of the calculation, and I want you to understand how to get the best overall deal. So let's look at a second scenario. Okay, so option number one, the boat's $100,000. Option number two, the same boat, $100,000. Now in this example, they discount their boat to $90,000 in the option one, and they show you $35,000 for the trade. Oh, that's pretty good. I'm getting a discount on my boat. They're showing me $35,000 on my trade. Option number two, $100,000 price, $20,000 discount, trade allowance $30,000. Even though they're giving you less for your trade, your net sale is $50,000. So that's actually getting less money for your trade is actually the better value. Okay? Now, it's easy when you're comparing the same boat, it's very easy to understand. Now, let's take a look at this third scenario. Now you're comparing two separate boats. Could be from different dealers, could be from the same dealer, it doesn't really matter. But boat number 1 has an MSRP of $110. Boat number 2 has an MSRP of $100,000. The discounted price, $75,000 and $70,000. And the trade allowance is $25,000 on boat 1, $27,000 on boat 2. Now, when you do the net sale number, you can see that boat number 2 is less expensive. Okay, they're giving you a little bit higher trade amount. They give you a $30,000 discount versus a, $25,000 discount. Here's what you don't know. What you don't know is, what would they have sold you that boat for if you didn't have a trade? Because the number that you don't know is that ACV number, the actual value of the boat. So it's nearly impossible to compare two boat options when you don't know what the actual cash value that they're giving for your boat, because all the other numbers is somewhat just of a shell game. There's a certain amount they're willing to discount their boat. There's a certain amount they're willing to give you on your trade. And the only number that matters is that net sale number. And are you getting a fair deal on that? Okay. So here's my recommendation for the best approach. The best approach is negotiate the boat price. So start the negotiation on the boat price. Okay, we've got a $100,000 boat. What's the best you can do on the boat that I'm buying? Okay. Now, how much would you buy my boat for just outright? And that's that actual cash value number. Now, understand, you've got to take your emotions out of it. I know you love your boat. I know you love it. But if you want to get the best deal, you have to take that emotion out of it, negotiate the best price of the boat, negotiate the most amount for your trade, and then you can make the decision. Okay, this boat I think could be sold on the market for $50,000. They're willing to give me $30,000 for the boat. Okay, if I was to sell it with a broker, they could probably get about $50,000, and they're going to charge me, let's say $10,000 or $5,000. They're usually about a 10% fee for service on a consignment. So that would put $45,000 in my pocket. They're only going to give me they're only going to give me $40,000. So I could sell it with a broker and get more, but there's that timing issue. Is that extra $5,000 worth it for me? Or I could sell it myself. And I could put the full $50,000 in my pocket. I think that's about the number I could sell it for. And now you can make an educated decision on what's the best way for you, because everybody's different. Listen, if you are traveling and you have a very demanding job and you frankly just don't want to deal with it, then the trade is the easiest way to go. Just get the most you can for your boat and go in with the solid understanding of the numbers, and you're going to come out in great shape. If you say, hey, man, I would love to sell my boat. I sell stuff all the time. It's not a big deal. I'd be glad to do it. And you can make that determination of, is it worth your time? Is it worth it based on what they're going to give you? But you don't really have apples to apples comparison unless you do it this way. Negotiate the boat price, negotiate the trade amount. But you have to, if you want that new boat, you have to take your emotion out of it, because you're gonna feel potentially like they're trying to take advantage of you. The reality is that they're in business to make money, and they need to bring your boat in. They're gonna probably put some money into it, doing some mechanical service, changing the oil, changing the impeller, changing the fluids, probably give it a detail, which you know how much that costs to do a detail, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 depending on the size and type of your boat. So they're going to put that money into it, and then they still need to sell it for a fair, reasonable profit. So that's the convenience fee that you pay when you do a trade, and you just have to make the determination of, am I happy with that? Do I think I got a fair amount? And this information will ensure that you have the knowledge and the numbers based on fact and not just based on your love of your boat. Okay. And I want you to trade up. I want you to get that new boat, and I want you to get a fair numbers, and I want you to get the best price on the boat, and I want you to get the most amount out of your trade. But I don't want you to be disappointed and feel like you're being taken advantage of when that's the way the numbers will work, and now you can make a smart decision to move forward instead of an emotional decision and maybe not get the boat that you've been dreaming of. So I hope that's valuable. I know it's very confusing. It's very confusing to understand it, but once you know what happens behind the curtains, if you can look behind that curtain and know what's going on, know where they're getting their numbers, and some of those numbers you can get your hands on, maybe even all of them that you can get your hands on, now you can make a smart decision. So as always, I appreciate you joining us. We're going to get this podcast tied up here to the docks, and we're going to be back to you next time with another informative and fun episode. Again, want to thank our sponsors, Boat Buyers, SecretWeapon.com. You can go there. You can check out that ultimate negotiation secret that is a program that's offered there. You can check that out. You can pick it up, and you can save hundreds, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars when you buy your next boat, and really when you buy anything going forward. That technique is rock solid. Anybody can use it, and if you're serious and you're going to be buying a boat in the near future, you need to get your hands on that strategy because it will save you lots and lots and lots of money. So there you go, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
It's time to pull up the anchor and run this podcast back to the dock. We'll be back again with another helpful and fun episode. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, visit us at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/guest, and I'll help offer insights into your boat research and shopping experience. We'd also appreciate it if you gave the podcast a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so we know how we're doing. It also helps others find us, which is a big help. You can also share with your boating friends and boating groups on social media. They'll certainly thank you. By the way, if you haven't already, be sure to grab your free Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Toolkit with inspection checklists, questions to ask, calculators, how to sea trial a boat the right way, and much, much more. You can pick up your copy at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/toolkit today. Already found the perfect boat and want to ensure you don't pay too much? Check out the magic money saving method at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/save for a short video. And now a few first time boating tips for when you bought your new boat. Number 1, at the boat ramp, prepare your boat, your gear, your guests in the staging area. Then head back down the ramp, unload, and head to the parking lot. Be courteous to your fellow boaters and don't tie that ramp up unnecessarily with things that should be done in the staging area. It'll make you a lot more boating friends. Number 2, this could save you an expensive ticket, and it's a personal pet peeve of mine. Boats do not have headlights. They have docking lights. They're specifically made for seeing in tight quarters and docking. Please, 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 please do not run your docking lights while running down the lake or the waterway. It will cause other boaters night blindness, and it can be very dangerous, and it's incredibly rude to those other boaters. Plus, as I said, it can land you with a very, very expensive ticket. Number three, pay attention to your wake at all times. When maneuvering at slow speeds, you can put out an enormous wake. Be sure to be at idle speed, which is just in forward gear, to ensure there's no wake, no extra throttle. Again, this can save you a very expensive ticket, and it's courteous to your fellow boaters. Number four, follow the maintenance schedule for your boat, changing the oil, the impeller, the gear loop, winterizing before the first major freeze if you freeze in your area, and checking your tires and your hubs and keeping those bearings greased. It will help you ensure that you don't experience an expensive and an unnecessary repair. Keeping up with that general maintenance will ensure that you have a much more fun and enjoyable boating lifestyle and have fewer problems that arise. Number five, always double check your plug is in, that your battery is charged, and the fuel is full before heading out for a day on the water. Now, I know all of these from personal experience, and it's ruined the boating day every single time. So, double check those things before you head out on the water, before you back down that ramp and go, and you'll have much more fun. And most important, have fun. Get out and enjoy your boat as often as you can, because as you know, life truly is better on a boat. Until next time, this is your friend in boating, Captain Matt.